Hi everyone, thank you for coming to week 2 of our fostering virtual event series. I'm Hayley, the marketing manager at Nexus Fostering, and these are my colleagues Jo and Jenny. And we're here to give you all the information you need about the fostering process. So what happens from initial visit all the way through to how you become an approved foster carer. So Jo, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Joanne Heathcote. I've been with Nexus for 6 years now in lots of different roles and capacities, and I'm now part of the leadership team in role of carer recruitment and engagement lead.
Thanks, Jo. And Jenny?
Hi, I'm Jenny Coyle. I'm a care engagement officer. I've been with Nexus since July last year. I've got a history of working in social care, but I've also fostered, so I've got some experience of actually doing the fostering.
Brilliant. So there is a Q&A function at the top, so if you'd like to send us a question over, feel free, and then we can I can ask the team at the end. So I'm just going to start off by, so we're going to share a video.
So you're thinking about fostering, but you're not sure where to start. Here at Nexus Fostering, we're with you every step of the way. Let us take you through the key stages. It starts with an informal chat with our experienced fostering advisors. We'll get to know you a little bit more and talk through your questions. When you're ready and at a time that suits you, we'll arrange to visit you at home. We'll talk you through the whole process and give you another opportunity to ask questions. Once we all agree that fostering is right for you and you feel ready, you'll complete an application form. An assessor will be assigned to help you, and the Nexus team will be on hand to support throughout. The next few stages cover your assessment. This can take a few months, but don't worry, you won't be alone. Once we've received your application, the necessary background checks will be completed and references gathered. It's an important part in safeguarding our children and young people. During this phase, your assessor will take time to find out more about your life experience, the activities you and your family enjoy, and all the great attributes you'll bring to the role of a foster carer. You will also participate in a Skills to Foster course, the first step in your dedicated training and development program provided by Nexus. You'll join future carers for this interactive course, providing you with invaluable skills and knowledge to support you throughout your fostering journey. You've come so far and are nearly there. We'll help to make sure you feel prepared for your interview with the panel team. It's the agency decision maker who will make the final decision to approve you as a Nexus foster carer. Once approved, your dedicated social worker and placements team will work closely with you to ensure you're well matched with a child or young person who needs you. The important thing to remember is this journey will be rewarding and life-changing for you and the children you help. Feeling inspired and ready to find out more? Call us on 0800 389 0143 or fill out our contact form and our friendly fostering advisor will be in touch. Nexus Fostering. We're a fostering family like no other.
So that kind of gave you an overview of the fostering process. It actually started before I gave you an introduction. But so Jo is going to give you a bit more information about each of those steps. Jo.
Lovely, thank you very much, Hayley. Okay, so as we said, that video gave you a really brief overview. Obviously, we've only got limited time today, so this is really a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but it's just to give you an understanding from the point of your contact with Nexus all the way through, hopefully, to being approved at our panel, what to expect. So in terms of the initial visit, just something I wanted to add to what was said in the video is it's really, really important that if you're applying as a couple, that when the initial visit is arranged, it's really important that you're both available so that the social worker that comes out to talk to you is able to talk to both of you. Even if one of you is going to be sort of the main carer, the other person's going to continue to work full time. Obviously, you know, this is something that you undertake as a family, so it's really important that both of you are there. So just something that I wanted to touch on. So you can see here what all the different steps are. So we've spoken about the actual visit itself. In terms of then, once the initial visit has taken place, if this turns out to be positive, then you will be placed then into assessment. You'll be given an allocated assessing social worker. Now, again, this we try as often as we can to make sure that this is somebody internal from your local team. If this isn't possible, then it'll be one of our well-used external social workers. So you'll have that chance, then you'll build up that relationship with them over the following months as your assessment takes place. And I'm going to talk about that process shortly in much more detail. You'll be expected to attend our Skills to Foster training as part of your assessment process, which gives you a really good overview of the expectations of fostering, of what sort of children that you'll be caring for. It looks a lot at safeguarding, it looks at impact on your own family, and all of this is then fed into your assessment. Step 6 there, it mentions that once you get to the midway point, so halfway through your assessment, you'll have a visit from the assessing manager and they'll talk to you about how your assessment's going. If there's been any concerns or issues that have come up, this will be spoken to in more detail at this midway meeting. And if everything's positive, then at this point is when you'll be allocated a mentor. My colleague Jenny is going to talk about the mentoring scheme in more detail later on in our presentation today. And then the final part of the assessment for yourselves is the attending of panel. You'll do this with your assessing social worker rather. This takes place in the local office. Panel are virtual. So you'll go into the office with your assessing social worker and you will then attend panel. They'll ask you some questions. It's all about yourself. That's what I always say to applicants. I know it's really nerve-wracking and it doesn't matter what we say, people are always nervous when they go to these. But, you know, you're just talking about yourself. They'll ask a few questions about things that they've read in your assessment, and they will then make a recommendation. That recommendation then goes to our agency decision maker, who then makes the final decision, and you will be informed of this. This is within 10 days, but you will be informed as soon as possible. And then if everything's positive, that's when you then will be allocated your supervising social worker and you will become an approved foster carer with Nexus. So again, that is just it really, you know, in a nutshell. I could talk about this all day, Hayley, just this part, but obviously, you know, we are limited. So that's what I wanted to cover then in part of, in terms of that. So then if we think about the actual initial visit itself. So as I said, this will be, this will take place in your home. And these are the sorts of things that we look at. So we will talk to you briefly about who we are. Really important, obviously, that you know who we are. They'll talk about the fact that, you know, we were founded in 2002 by a team of social workers and foster carers. Ofsted outstanding. We are really proud that we have been consistently outstanding since 2011. Our most recent Ofsted actually took place 18 months ago in December 2022. So that's a little bit, you know, we'll give you a little bit of brief background. Then within the initial visit, we will explain to you about the types of young people that come into care. Really important that you get a good overview and understanding of, you know, why young people come into care. We always have to, you know, we always work on the basis when we undertake our initial visits that people come from a point of really not knowing very much. Obviously, some people we come out to see have fostered in the past and for whatever reason have had to step away from it. And other people are looking at transferring from a different agency or different local authority. So obviously we do tailor it depending on your your amount of knowledge that you have. But we always start from a basis of people not really knowing very much about it. So we look about the young people that would be looking to come into your homes, about their background. We discuss behaviours, obviously, just from the sheer fact that our young people are coming into care, they all do come with an element of trauma, with issues around attachment. So it's really important that people have a little bit of an understanding of how this will come out in behaviours. And then we look at things in terms of young people who may have additional learning needs, who may have disabilities. So these are the things again that we cover. We look at the types of fostering families that we need. There are so many different types of people that we need to come into fostering, who will cater for all the different and varied needs of our young people. We'll talk to you about your particular skills. I think people sometimes don't realise that actually, whatever it is that you do or you've done previously, that often there's a lot of transferable skills that can come into fostering. So we will discuss that, look at what your skills are, and think about what would work best for you and for your families. We need foster carers who are proactive, absolutely, who are positive, really important, who are committed, who are resilient, and who have the space. We need to make sure that people have, and when we talk about physical space, yes, we mean in terms of your home, but also that your lives are in a place where you can commit and you are able to give a child or children that space and time that they need. We look at expectations. I think sometimes people are a little bit surprised about all the expectations that there are for fostering. We look at training. So that is absolutely, and Jenny's going to touch on this a little bit just briefly later on, in terms of the training that you'll be expected to undertake. There are lots and lots of different meetings that need to be attending. It's really important that contact with birth family is promoted, and this is an expectation for our foster carers. You'll get regular supervision from your supervising social worker, which you need to be available for. And then we talk about things like recordings, a very important aspect of being a foster carer, about flexibility. So yeah, all the different, we look at notice periods, we look at transport. Then we talk to you about what we provide in terms of our fees. It's really important that obviously people have an understanding of what the fees look like, about the amount of respite that is available for our foster carers. We look at support, which again we're going to look at in more detail. We do have a 24-hour duty service, which works 365 days of the year, and always somebody at the end of the phone. So again, really important things. And then the assessment process itself, which I'm going to go into in more detail in a little while. We think it's really, really important, and it's something that we really do advocate, is talking to current foster carers. I think, we can talk to you all day about fostering, but actually, unless you actually talk to people who are doing it themselves, I think, that's a much better way of getting a good overview. If you were to be a transferring foster carer, then we would we'll talk to you about, it's a slightly different process to come through if you're transferring, so that's something we'd look at in details, and then we go through the application. So I'm going to now, Haley, if you don't mind, just moving on to the next slide, and then I can.
It's really important. I think it's really important on that and this section as well, for the initial visit. It's the perfect opportunity for people to ask questions, isn't it? And I think there's no silly questions. I mean, we've heard a variety of things, but there genuinely is no silly question. It's the perfect opportunity for we'll obviously send you an information pack, and it's just get your questions ready, because the social worker that would come and see you, it's the perfect opportunity for that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think what's really important to say, actually, thank you, Haley, for saying that. I think what's really important as well, and something I always say when I go out to do visits, is that obviously we're coming out to see you, we're coming out to see your home to see if we feel that you would be suitable, you know, as foster carers. But equally and just as important, it's about you seeing if, you know, we're the right agency for you, if you get a good feel, and if we're the things that we're talking to you about, if they align with, you know, what you're looking for as well. So I think that's really important, but it's not just all about us, you know, it's very much about you and what you want to get out of the process, and if we're that right fit for you. So yeah, thanks, Hayley. I think that's a really important point to make.
And I think it's also, that's the perfect time for you then for people to consider whether it's now is the right time, or whether it's something that they want to consider sometime in the future. Once they get the information is so important. So once they gather that from you and the social workers, it's they then have more of an informed decision that whether that's right for now or in the future, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you know, we fully you know, understand and accept that, you know, becoming a foster carer is a huge, you know, it's a life-changing decision, and for some people, you know, it takes years before they get to that point, and it's something that they think about, and then, you know, life happens, and then they go away and they come back. And you know, one of the things as well, which I'm going to look at in the next slide as well, but we have to think about as well, if you've got your own family, your own children, about the impact on them, because we've found, you know, historically we know that people can come into fostering, but actually if it's not the right time for their children, then it's not going to work. They have to be part of that process. They have to be part of those decisions. So something really, really important to think about. So going on to the assessment process. So it's really important to me that I give you a really, you know, a good overview of what the expectations are. I know feedback that I get, so as part of my role, I manage anything to do with the assessment process, and feedback that I get talking to applicants who've come through and have been approved is that, wow, you know, we hadn't fully understood quite how big the assessment process is, you know, how intense it is, and actually how intrusive it is into people's lives. But I think, you know, there is a reason for that. You know, this is, you know, looking at finding people who can look after our most vulnerable young people. So we do have to, you know, they are deep. They are. There's no two ways about it, and they have to be. You know, the assessments are there for a reason. So just to give you a little bit of an overview, these are some of the main headings that we talk about with you. Some of these are done if you're a couple. Some of these will be done one-to-one. So family and the adult life we tend to do on a one-to-one basis, and then the rest of it we'll do with you as a couple. So little bit of a sort of whistle-stop tour. So family background and childhood. I always get asked by people, why do you need to know about my childhood? What does it matter about, you know, what I did 30, 40, 50 years ago? You know, why is that relevant? And, you know, I always say to people that, you know, who you are today, that absolutely, you know, started out from your childhood, and how you've the things that you've been through in your childhood and how you've managed those. That's how we build up our resilience, and these things are really important. And you know, actually I often have people saying to me at the initial visit stage, gosh, you know, I've had quite a challenging, you know, childhood. I've had this, that and another that's happened to me. You know, is that going to be a barrier to me fostering? Absolutely not. You know, these are the things that make you who you are today, and actually having a little bit of life experience can be a really positive thing, you know. Absolutely. So it can make you quite, you know, you can relate to some of the things that our young people have been through. So we'll talk about your childhood, we'll talk about any siblings that you've had, your relationship with your parents, we talk about your schooling, what you did. And we also talk about, which is really important, you know, important people to you. That doesn't necessarily have to be mom and dad. You know, very often it's not. Often significant, you know, people in your childhood can be an uncle, an aunt, a grandparent, a next door neighbour. It's not always mom and dad, you know. So something really, really important that we look at. We look at your adult life to date. So, you know, we think about your employment, what sort of work you've got, what transferable skills you've got, if you've gone on to do any further education. And within this, we look at your past relationships. If you've been maybe, you know, married previously, or you've been in a significant relationship then this is where we talk about it. We look at your health. We often get asked, you know, oh, I'm I don't know, so old. Is that going to stop me from you know, fostering? Actually, you know, within reasons, obviously, age is not at all a factor. It's much more about your health. If you're fit and you're healthy and able to look after young people, that's what we look at much more than we do age. We look at your current relationship. Again, if you're married or if you're in a long-term relationship, then, you know, we look at that, how that started, where you're at. We need to be sure that this is something, if you are in a partnership, that you've both fully considered. We accept that often there's one that's going to be maybe more the day-to-day hands-on person, but absolutely this is a team effort. So we need to be sure that everybody is involved. Likewise with household members, if you've got, obviously if it's relevant to their age, if you've got children living in the house, then we will talk to them also, make sure that they're on board and happy. And then we will also talk to any adult children you've got, or any children from previous relationships, because it's really important, again, that they're on board. I should have said as well, when we were speaking about the initial visit, something that's really important and that sometimes people aren't always 100%, you know, confident with, is that we do need to talk to ex-partners as well. So that is really important. Unless there is an absolute exceptional reason, that is really important. So again, I'll just skim through these because I know, you know, we are a little bit limited for time. So that's the first part of the assessment, is really looking at you as a family, looking at you as a household, and thinking about how fostering is going to fit. The second part, again, you can see the different headings: structure, boundaries, empathy, resilience and commitment are absolutely huge part of, you know, fostering. We need to make sure that our foster carers are resilient and are committed. Understanding identity and diversity, motivation, huge factor. I think these two, motivation and impact of fostering and expectations, you know, we cannot underestimate how much this is going to impact on your lives, hopefully in a really positive way. You know, we have lots and lots of fostering families who grew up themselves in fostering households, whose parents fostered or whose grandparents or aunties fostered, and they've seen all the benefits. So it's something that they want to come into. So, you know, for me, I think that's wonderful, but we do have to think about impact and looking at that and seeing how, you know, we can support with that and what we can do to support you as a family. And then the final part of it is we look at your future learning and development. If there's any areas, maybe of vulnerability, any gaps in your learning, we look at how we can support you with that and how we can develop that further. And again, just briefly, on the right hand side, it just gives you a bit of an idea of some of the additional parts that we do. We do have to look at your pets, really important. If you've got dogs or any sort of significant pets, we do need to look at how they'll fit in. Pets can be a wonderful source for our looked after children. You know, they can be really therapeutic, you know, which is absolutely what we're all about. So it's really important, but we need to make sure that, you know, that they are kept safe as well. So we will do an assessment on them. We'll look at your family tree, and we'll look at your eco map. Your eco map looks at your support network. Who have you got around you? Who have you got to turn to if you were poorly, if you had your own family emergency? Who's there to support you? You need a bit of a break. You know, you just want a break. You want to go out for a few hours. You need a night away. Who have you got there that can support you? References, we do a lot of checks. We do local authority checks. Obviously DBS, you know, you will be DBS checked. We talk to family and we talk to friends that you put forward. We talk to your past employees. So again, total whistle stop store. As you know, Hayley, I could talk about this all day, but I'm very conscious of time, so I will leave it there. But obviously, if anyone's got any other questions, that's what we're here for. And then again, I've touched on this, but just briefly, support. You know, we do pride ourselves in the support. I think it's what, you know, makes us stand out from other agencies. You know, we do offer a lot of support. It's so important. We recognise that, you know, without support, foster carers can't function and they can't do their roles. So you've got a real, all around you, lots and lots of different types of support, as you can see here. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to pass over to Jenny, who is going to talk in more detail about our mentoring scheme. Thank you.
Lovely. Hello. So we've got the mentoring scheme up here, and this was put into place about a year or so ago, and it's to enable people who are midway through their point of assessment to be linked to an experienced foster carer. It is quite an intense process. You've just heard a lot of information about that, and what this enables you to do is to be able to speak to somebody who's been through it, is out there doing the fostering, and they will be able to talk to you about anything that any questions you've got that don't feel like you managed to understand fully with the SSW. So you might be able to then take that back to the SSW to explain it a bit more. It is part of the assessment process, but it also allows you to have somebody that you're connected through, you're building those links, because they're going to be absolutely fundamental as you moving through into your fostering career. They will share with you the training that they've done, how they felt going to panel. So you'll have two sessions on the run up to panel. So you'll get an introduction. They'll call you after the midway, and then they will speak to you just prior to panel. And then after that, once you're approved, you will have contact with them for the next year. You may well build a friendship with them, and that might be ongoing, but they'll keep sort of in touch with you, so that you understand what it feels like before you've had a child placed with you, and then when that first child comes to you, you've got somebody there that you know that you can kind of go and speak to. I think people have found this really, really helpful, and we've got some fabulous foster carers that are part of the mentoring scheme who really want to make sure that your experience is the best it can be, and that you're as prepared as you can be for this really unique role. Yeah. I'm a care engagement officer, so this is kind of the role that I do within Nexus. Again, it's quite a new role, but I think what we really want to do is make sure that you're a part of how we look at support, so that so the support that we're offering actually is led by foster carers and what they need. We want to make sure that you're as best in the best place in terms of your knowledge and your connections with people within foster care, so the foster carers, how your family are managing, to enable you to sort of be able to do the best you can for the children that are placed with you. We want you to know that you're valued. It's an incredibly unique job. It's so important, and a lot of the world can't do this, and so you've stepped into doing something that's incredibly important, and we want to make sure that you know how valued you are to Nexus, and that you're part of the Nexus family. We're kind of a belts and braces team, so if you needed to ask questions and you've seen the social worker and you can't get hold of them, and we're another number that you can call. We come out and do visits. We do coffee meetups to try and connect you with other people that might be geographically close to you, or they might be fostering the same types of children that you are. If you're a single carer, it might be that we link you with other single carers. So in things along like that, we listen to you. And so if you're having a training and it didn't quite hit the mark, then we can talk to you about what would have worked. If you see something that's excellent and it's really sort of had an impact on your fostering, then bring that back to us. We want to hear about it, because often that gets shared amongst all the other foster carers. We want to really try and make sure that that people feel like they're looked after. You're an adult doing fostering, and if you're topped up and you're kept feeling like you've got somebody there that will support you, then you're going to be able to do that for these children.
Thanks, Jenny. So training is we get asked a lot, how do you need any specific qualifications to become a foster carer? The answer is no. But talk us through a bit, Jenny, about what we offer in terms of training.
Yes, so obviously you're becoming probably from other roles, and there's a lot of transferable skills that you'll be bringing to this, but there's definitely a lot of areas that you might need to sort of just think about in terms of what children need in your home. So you've got the skills to foster, and I think all foster carers start with that sort of somewhere near the beginning, and that's kind of giving you the types of things that you might expect into your family when you have children placed, and how you can manage that, and it kind of gives you tools for I think it's like a toolbox of knowledge and skill. And then there's a variety of training that's ongoing, and the world of what we know about people and how we work, and how children work, especially when they've had difficult starts, is changing and developing at all times. And so we offer a variety of training, but it's really important to keep up to date with it. The training's excellent and will give you much more understanding of the things that you are seeing from the children in your placements. So like attachment there you've got, and child development. So you've got your average child development, but some of these children may have had some delays, and so it's understanding what that might mean for children, and that might be from what's happening with babies, or what that might look like when they're teenagers, because they've had those basic child development. Often the goals is either slightly delayed or they've missed them. And there are areas like the gang culture where you might want to know some more if that's a child that you might have in placement and they've been attached to that. It's really interesting to understand sort of what that might mean to a child in your placement. It might be that you're having very young children, but it's really lovely to be able to go and attend these trainings, even if they're not for the child that you have in place, because the more knowledge you have, the more forearmed you are for anything that might be coming. And also when you're talking to other foster carers, you can say, oh, I went on this training and this kind of made sense, and maybe these are the things you can think about, or you can recommend that training. You're professional, and actually we need to keep that professional skills up so that you're giving the best care that we can for children, and for your own learning and development, just kind of keeping you interested in the things that are happening.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that children come into care for such a variety of reasons, and it could be for a short term, it could be, short term could be a couple of days, it could be up to a couple of years, and it could be longer term, depending on what that reason is. So the more, the variety of training that you have, it doesn't really matter in the time that you spend with this children, you're going to bring something to their life. You're going to be able to enrich it in somehow. And the training that we offer is absolutely contributes to that.
Yeah, and I think what's really important, well, just to touch on when it comes to training as well, I think sort of Jenny's slightly touched on this herself, but I think what's really important as well is when you are sat with other, with your peers really, is that yes, it's about the training that's being delivered, but it's also about experiences that you can share with one another, because that is what's so important. So, you might be talking about, let's say, for example, self-harm. And it might be that, that you've actually experienced something with a young person that you've cared for, that somebody else is going through at that moment in time. So I think as well as the learning from it, it's also the learning you get from one another, and by sharing, obviously in a very confidential and in a very controlled way, but it's about sharing those experiences and enabling other foster carers to learn from your own experiences as well. And I think that's really important, to say.
And when I fostered, some of the best people, like in terms of connecting with other foster carers, would be at training, because you share and you get to know the people. And so it's a lovely way to connect with other foster carers when you go on training.
And it's the same with support groups, isn't it? That's why we have them.
Absolutely.
We're led by them. It's really important that they do have that, whether it's once a month, or you can be in contact with them however often you like. We're very, absolutely speak to these, but the support groups is where people can come together and chat over a coffee, ask for advice. It's really important that, they've got their peers with them.
Yeah, some of the support you will have when you're coming into fostering might not look as it does when you move into fostering. So if you've got family around you, they may well be able to help. but sometimes that can fall away a little bit. And so actually having other foster carers around, building those connections in as fluid as way, as natural as way as feels possible, will mean that you've got people who really understand the children that are in your home, really understand the experience you're going through. And for me, foster carers were it very much became part of my network of support. It grew,
absolutely.
and yeah, the more that you have of that, the better it is, I feel.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, thanks, Jenny. It's a really good point.
Thank you. So we're just going to finish on a video from our foster carer, Tim. So he's been fostering with us for about 6 years, I believe. And he's just giving his top tips on what he thinks you could do being a foster carer.
What we did, we spoke to lots of people, and we found that really helpful. We've got quite a lot of friends who foster and some who have adopted as well. So we spoke to them about finding out what it's like every day, what's a typical day look like. And the answer we found is that there's no typical day, because things can change on a day-to-day basis. But I would say get talking to folk, but don't do what I do. Don't leave it too long. Do it, because the rewards far outweigh any of the hardships along the way.
Absolutely. And I think that's why, that's what we're both all saying, is just it's really important to get that information, whether that's from us, whether that's from fellow foster carers. They really will help you succeed in your fostering journey. So absolutely. So use the Q&A function at the top if you'd like to ask a question. So we've had a couple in for you both. So how long is the assessment, and is it different for transferring carers? Jo.
Oh, yeah, thank you. That's something I did actually mean to touch on before. So we endeavour from the point of your first contact to the point of going to panel to get that completed within 6 months. The actual assessment process on the whole is 16 weeks. I say on the whole because obviously this can vary, because part of it is sometimes we're waiting on checks to come in. Sometimes DBS we can get back within a couple of days. Sometimes it can take longer. Health checks can take longer. References. But from starting the assessment to it being handed in for QA and then prepared for panel, it's a maximum of 16 weeks. That's what we look to do. We try and do it quicker if at all possible. And yes, it is a slightly different process for transferring in. If you've already been through the assessment process and you have your previous assessment, we do look at doing that, faster. We still have processes we have to go through. We still have to do checks, but we try and make it as smooth and as quick and as seamless as we possibly can for people.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jo. Jenny, what's the difference between fostering and adoption?
Yep, so there's quite a significance between fostering and adoption. Adoption, you are usually looking to complete a family. The children come from local authority, will often have started out in foster care, but you'll be assessed to look at you taking parental responsibility for those children, and they become a permanent part of your family. Once the adoption order goes through, social workers and social care will no longer be a part of your family moving forward. Foster care is about sort of giving a place to children whose future is probably undecided. The idea is mostly to try and return children home wherever possible, and that can take from sometimes a few nights up to a couple of years. And sometimes children can't go home, and so it might turn into long-term foster care. So you might have foster children moving for the long term. Some children who are quite young that come into foster care may move on to adoption. Generally, babies or much younger children, their plan might be. So some foster care is bridged to adoption, and so they would help and move that child to a permanent place where they're going to have the parental responsibility of that child moving home.
Brilliant.
I hope that's clear.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jenny. And Jo, what happens after panel?
Oh, okay. So once you've been approved as a foster carer, and we've had the final ADM decision confirming, that approval, the next steps will be then that you will be introduced to who is going to become your supervising social worker. You will meet the team, you'll meet the area manager, who you will have already met along the way, but you'll get, an official welcome to the team. You'll meet all of them. You'll have to have an induction. So you'll have an induction, which will be done by your supervising social worker, which talks you through all the sorts of things that you need to know about in terms of filling out your recording, about any expenses, about expectations, let you know when all the support groups are, make sure you've got all the emergency numbers. And then once all of that has taken place, you're ready then to get your first placement. So that's when our placements team. Now, what people don't often understand is that actually that whole matching and the placing actually starts to take place before you even go to panel. Our placements team are made aware of who's coming through and look at the matching criteria, look at your location, your family setup, how many bedrooms you've got, what your skill set is, and those matching criteria are already taking place. So as soon as what is felt to be a suitable match comes up, that will then be discussed with yourselves, and then hopefully we can get you, get a young person, sibling group, whatever it is that's going to be, coming into, however that looks, we can get you up and running as foster carers, always with that support around you. Absolutely.
Brilliant. And this is a question that we do get asked a lot. Absolutely. What's the difference between signing up with an independent agency to the council?
Yeah, it is a question that we get, asked a lot. So, I mean, one of the big differences. So every child that comes into care goes through the local authority. So all, looked after children go through the local authority. Local authorities look to place in-house where they can. However, as we know, and as is, very documented at the moment, that there's a real lack of foster carers at the moment. So if they can't place within their local authority, then they look to place within the agencies. Somebody who's come from a local authority background and moved into agency, I can say absolutely, in terms of caseloads, the caseloads that our supervising social workers carry compared to in the local authorities is far, far smaller, which means that in terms of support, we are able to offer you a much higher level of support and be around, because we do keep our caseloads. We do look to keep them really low, enabling our supervising social workers to have more time to be able to dedicate to our carers. So in a nutshell, that's what I would say would be the main differences.
I fostered for a local authority, and the difference that I see is that you've got somebody that's a bit independent from the local authority. So when decisions are being made, if they don't feel right or comfortable, you've got Nexus to back you up. It kind of, if you're with a local authority, your SSW will be with the local authority too. So sometimes they're singing from the same song sheet, and I just think that sometimes when there's decisions making, having somebody that's independent to be there to support you, it might not change that decision, but at least we can be with you to manage those decisions. For me, and this is just for me, and I can't speak, if I had been with an agency, I think I would have been able to carry on fostering in a way that I wasn't able to with a local authority, particularly Nexus, but I must.
Thank you. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Joe. Oh, so we just got another question come through. I'm new to finding out about both fostering and adoption, and I've seen things about transferring agencies. Why would a carer transfer to another agency?
There's lots and lots of reasons that people transfer to different agencies. To be honest, the main reasons that I'm seeing is around support. Again, I know I'm going back to support, but a lot of people look elsewhere if they're finding that actually they've not had the support that they would have liked. Some age, again, and you know, everyone has their, you know, has their pluses and their minuses. So I'm not here to say that any one's better than the other, but I think that one of the things that we have compared to maybe some other agencies is that we have a lot of local offices. So you're never, yeah, absolutely, to do location, yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say. So you know, we have local offices, so your supervising social worker is never that far away from where you live, as opposed to maybe, you know, being 2 or 3 hours away. You know, we do pride ourselves on the fact that we have our local offices, and that we, you know, we recruit our foster carers within that locality, so that we are nearby, to come out to see you, but also, you know, for you to be able to come and see us anytime that you like.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question. Go on, Jenny.
To be able to look after children in the best way possible. That's why people are coming into this. And I think if you've got somebody behind you who you feel is going to be able to have your back, so it's great when everything's going well and you'll have lovely times with children. But when things get challenging, you want to know that you've got people behind you that will help you to be able to keep that child in your care, because you'll care very much for these children. And it's about sort of finding someone that's comfortable, that you feel will be able to make sure that, you know, you're able to do the care that you're providing with somebody that's got that supports you in a way that feels comfortable and enables you to do the best caring that you can do.
Thank you. I'm just conscious of time, so thank you for attending. This is our information, so we've got lots more information on the website. This is our phone number. Kirsten and Nikki are there ready to answer your questions. Obviously, pop us an email if there's something else. You know, we're here all the time, so just pop us an email. We'll be able to answer your questions that way as well. Next week, week 3, we're talking about teenagers and siblings. And we're trying to do a bit of myth busting, especially about teenagers. There's lots of teenagers in care, and they all get a bit of a stereotypical image. So next week is a bit of myth busting about teenage and siblings. So we hope to see you there. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.